The Kryll had conquered 47 worlds without meeting meaningful resistance. Their technological superiority was absolute. Their warrior caste evolved for warfare across 1,000 years of galactic dominance. When their scout ships detected the primitive settlement on Mars, they barely logged it as a threat. Commander Vexthor studied the human colony through the observation deck, mandibles clicking dismissively. "How many?" he asked his tactical officer. "Approximately 12,000, sir. Confined to underground habitats due to atmospheric insufficiency. Their technology is quaint. No orbital defense grid. No plasma cannons. Their most advanced weapon appears to be kinetic missiles from the 21st century baseline. And their military strength? Negligible, sir. Roughly 800 trained personnel. Most of the population are civilians, scientists, engineers, agricultural specialists." Vexthor's antennae twitched with what might have been amusement. "They've come to Mars to farm. This will be brief." He issued the command to initiate landing protocols. The Kryll needed the colony's water ice reserves and rare mineral deposits. Humans would be useful as labor before being eliminated. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the observation dome when the first Kryll ships cut through the Martian atmosphere, their hulls screaming through the thin air, with technological indifference to physics as humans understood it. She activated the emergency beacon, knowing it would take 4 years for the nearest human response to arrive. They would be alone. "All personnel to contingency shelters," she commanded, her voice steady through the colony's communication network. "This is not a drill." Colonel Marcus Webb, commanding the small military contingent at the colony, gathered his officers, 800 soldiers and security personnel against an invasion force of what preliminary scans suggested was at least 10,000 Kryll warriors. The math was not encouraging, but humans had never excelled at accepting impossible odds. "They'll expect us to surrender or hide," Webb said, studying the scan data. "They'll expect us to be afraid. That's our advantage. They don't understand what humans do when we're cornered." The Kryll landed their advanced garrison outside the colony. 2,000 warriors, more than enough to crush any human resistance. Their commander, Sub-Commander Kryll, strutted out of the landing craft with warriors flanking him, exoskeletons gleaming in the dusty sunlight. He sent a transmission directly into the colony's communication system. "Humans, you will surrender your colony and submit to assimilation into the Kryll collective. You have 1 hour to comply, or we will breach your habitats and take what we wish." Dr. Chen opened a channel back. "We refuse, and we're going to ask you to leave." The Kryll's collective silence was almost deafening. Then laughter, grating, horrible, utterly devoid of humor. "You refuse? You have no military capability. You cannot harm us." "No," Chen agreed, "but we can do something far worse." That's when the dust storm began. It started in subsurface geothermal vents the humans had been studying for 3 years, never revealing their true project to the outside galaxy. Sarah's team had spent 18 months modifying the Martian terrain itself, creating a network of pressurized containment and release points. When activated, they created a dust storm with winds exceeding 300 kilometers per hour, filled with abrasive regolith and a particular compound the humans had manufactured, a corrosive polymer specifically designed to eat through unshielded exoskeleton armor. The Kryll warriors discovered in that first terrible moment that humans didn't think like the species they'd conquered before. Humans didn't think in terms of direct military advantage. When cornered on an alien world, humans thought like farmers, engineers, and problem solvers. They thought about the environment itself. The dust storm hit with apocalyptic fury. Kryll warriors screamed as the corrosive compound ate through their armor seals. Equipment malfunctioned. Navigation systems failed in the chaos of wind and dust. Sub-Commander Kryll tried to regroup, tried to advance, but 50 warriors died in the first 5 minutes, not to weapons, but to the very planet they'd come to conquer. "Retreat!" he screamed into the comm. "All units, back to the landing craft. This world is hostile." But Webb and his soldiers were already moving. While the Kryll were disoriented, blinded, their armor compromised, the humans struck. Not with overwhelming force, they couldn't match that, but with precision. Small teams in sealed suits, armed with armor-piercing rounds, took positions on the high ground around the landing zone. They'd studied every inch of this colony's surroundings, understood the terrain with an intimacy that came from 3 years of habitation. The Kryll lost 400 warriors in the evacuation. Their ships screamed back into the sky, and Vexthar watched from orbit as his advanced garrison was decimated. "Impossible," he breathed. "They turned the planet itself into a weapon." Chen's voice came through on the open frequency. "This is Dr. Sarah Chen, commander of Mars Colony 7. You came to take our water and our minerals. But you miscalculated one thing. You assumed we'd fight like you. We don't. We don't have your strength, your weapons, your numbers. We have something better. We have 250,000 square kilometers of a world we've studied in intimate detail, and we know exactly how to survive it." She paused, letting the weight of that sink in. "Leave now, and we let you go. Stay, and we activate every geothermal reserve, every atmospheric processor we've ever built. We'll make this entire planet into a weapon against you. We didn't choose Mars for its beauty or its proximity to Earth. We chose it because it taught us how to survive the impossible. Humanity has always been good at that." There was a long silence from the Kryll ships. "Commander," Vexithar's tactical officer said quietly, "she's not bluffing. The atmospheric disturbance readings suggest they could create a planetary dust storm lasting weeks. Our shields can handle it temporarily, but if they escalate to that level..." Vexithar's mandibles clicked, anger this time, but also something that might have been respect. "Retreat. Plot a course away from this system." As the Kryll fleet jumped to hyperspace, Webb stood in the observation dome next to Chen, watching the ships vanish among the stars. "They'll come back," Webb said, "with bigger forces, with more ships." "Yes," Chen agreed. "But they'll come differently now. They'll be afraid." And that fear came from humans choosing to adapt rather than surrender, to become part of Mars rather than try to conquer it. She smiled faintly. The first true Martians just defeated an interstellar empire. That changes everything. Above them, Earth hung in the night sky, a blue dot full of people who would never know how close they'd come to being conquered, or how their own species had drawn a line in the red dust and said, "Not here. Not now. Not ever." Mars had found its champions, and the galaxy would learn to fear them.